The heart monitor beside my hospital bed kept beeping. Doctors weren't sure I'd survive the night. While I lay unconscious in the ICU, my family wasn't praying for me. They were sitting around my dining room table, arguing over who would get my house, my savings, my business, and even my classic Mustang. Then my mother raised a slice of pizza and laughed. After everything he's built, at least it won't go to waste. They thought I couldn't hear them. They thought I hadn't planned ahead. What they didn't know was that 48 hours earlier, I'd signed one final set of legal papers, and before I ever opened my eyes again, the hospital was about to reveal the truth that would destroy every plan they'd made. If you enjoy emotional family stories filled with betrayal, shocking twists, and satisfying endings, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Every week, we bring powerful stories that remind us that kindness is never weakness, and the truth always comes out. Now, let me tell you how my own family celebrated my death, before they realized they were getting absolutely nothing. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 36 years old. Until 6 months ago, I believed I had everything. A successful construction company, a beautiful home outside Denver, a healthy savings account, and a family I thought loved me. Looking back, I only had one of those things: the business. I wasn't married, no children. Work had always come first. Whenever my parents needed help, I was there. When my younger brother Ryan lost his job, I paid his rent for almost a year. When my sister Melissa couldn't afford college tuition, I covered it without asking for a single dollar back. Every Christmas, every birthday, every emergency, they called me. And every time, I answered. Not because I was rich, because they were family. At least, that's what I believed. My father passed away when I was 28. After that, I became the one everyone depended on. Mom always said, "You're the strong one, Michael." At first, those words made me proud. Eventually, I realized they meant something different. Strong people are often expected to carry everyone else, without ever complaining. My mother never asked how exhausted I was. She only asked if I could help one more time. Ryan wanted money for another business idea. Melissa needed help buying a new SUV. Mom wanted expensive kitchen renovations. Every request came with the same sentence: "You'll understand." And I always did. My best friend David used to warn me. One day they'll stop seeing you as family. They'll start seeing you as a wallet. I'd laugh. Not my family. He'd simply shake his head. I hope you're right. I wish I had listened. Everything changed one rainy Tuesday morning. I was driving to a meeting. Traffic was light. The road was slick. A delivery truck lost control crossing an intersection. I never even saw it coming. The impact flipped my SUV twice. When I woke up, bright white lights surrounded me. Machines beeped beside my bed. I couldn't move. A nurse noticed my eyes opening. "Michael, you're in the ICU. You've had multiple surgeries. Don't try to speak." I slowly nodded. Every part of my body hurt. Over the next several days, doctors explained the damage: broken ribs, a fractured pelvis, internal bleeding, a severe concussion. The next 72 hours would determine whether I lived or died. Those words echoed inside my head: whether I lived or died. News spread quickly. Friends visited. Employees from my company sent flowers. Even clients stopped by. But what surprised me was my family's behavior. The first day, Mom cried beside my bed. Ryan looked worried. Melissa hugged me. Everything seemed normal, until I pretended to be asleep. That's when people started saying what they thought I'd never hear. One evening, Mom whispered, "If Michael doesn't make it, the house should stay in the family." Ryan immediately replied, "I've always wanted it." Melissa crossed her arms. What about the company? I deserve part of that too. Mom sighed. We'll figure it out. Ryan chuckled. He's got plenty of insurance. Melissa smiled. We'll all be taken care of. I kept my eyes closed, praying. I'd misunderstood. The next afternoon, a nurse accidentally left the ICU door slightly open. Voices drifted inside from the waiting room. Ryan laughed loudly. Michael would have wanted us to enjoy ourselves. A delivery driver arrived. Boxes of pizza filled the table. Mom smiled. We've all been under so much stress. Melissa picked up her phone. We should eat before meeting with the lawyer. Lawyer? My heart began racing. What lawyer? Later that evening, my attorney, Sarah Collins, quietly entered my room. She'd known me for nearly 10 years. She noticed something was wrong. You look upset. With great effort, I whispered. My family. She leaned closer. What happened? I told her everything I'd overheard. The pizza, the inheritance, the lawyer, the conversations. Sarah didn't interrupt. She simply listened. When I finished, she was silent for several seconds. Then she asked one question. Michael, do you still want your estate handled the way it was before? I stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything I'd heard. Then, for the first time in my life, I answered a question, without thinking about everyone else. No. Sarah slowly nodded. I'll prepare new documents. The following morning, she returned with a notary. Doctors confirmed I was mentally competent. Every document was read aloud. Every page explained carefully. Every signature witnessed. When everything was finished, Sarah placed the folder into her briefcase. Are you sure? I looked directly at her. For the first time, I'm absolutely sure. She smiled softly. I'll make sure your wishes are followed. As she walked toward the door, neither of us noticed. My mother standing just outside the hallway, watching Sarah leave with the sealed envelope. A confused expression spread across her face. She had no idea that everything she believed about my inheritance had just changed forever. The moment Sarah left my hospital room, I knew there was no turning back. For years, I'd convinced myself that family always came first. Now, for the first time, I was choosing myself, not out of revenge, but because I'd finally seen the truth. The next morning, the doctors reduced my medication. I was awake longer, more aware, still too weak to move much, but strong enough to listen. Around noon, my mother, Ryan, and Melissa walked into the ICU together. The moment they thought I had fallen asleep, they started talking again. Ryan looked around the room. So, have they said anything about his condition? Mom sighed dramatically. They're still not sure. Melissa quietly asked, Did Michael ever make a will? Ryan shrugged. If he didn't, everything should come to us anyway. Mom nodded. That's what I was thinking. Then Ryan smiled. I'm already looking at his house online. Melissa laughed. I call the lake cabin. Mom added. And I could finally sell his company. Every word felt heavier than the last. Not one of them asked, what if Michael survives? Instead, they were planning a future without me. A nurse walked in unexpectedly. Everyone immediately changed their expressions. Mom grabbed my hand. Oh, sweetheart, we're all praying for you. Ryan nodded. You're a fighter. Melissa kissed my forehead. The nurse smiled warmly. What a wonderful family. If only she knew. That afternoon, Sarah returned. She carried another sealed envelope. She leaned close to my bed. Everything has been filed. No one can challenge it. I managed a small smile. Thank you. She squeezed my shoulder. You spent your life taking care of everyone else. It's time someone protected you. Outside the room, Ryan stopped Sarah. Excuse me. Are you Michael's lawyer? Yes. Can you tell us anything about his estate? Sarah remained perfectly calm. I'm sorry. I'm not authorized to discuss my client's private affairs. Ryan forced a smile. We're his family. She politely replied, and Michael is my client. Then she walked away. Ryan watched her leave. His curiosity only grew. Later that evening, I heard them again. This time, they weren't whispering. Melissa sounded excited. I checked the market. Michael's company could be worth millions. Ryan nodded. If we sell the house too, we'll all be set. Mom smiled. Your father would have wanted us to stay comfortable. I almost laughed. My father had spent his entire life teaching me that hard work mattered. He would have been heartbroken hearing this conversation. 2 days later, my condition stabilized. The doctors believed I would recover, slowly, but completely. When the doctor shared the good news, I expected my family to celebrate. Instead, Ryan asked, So, how long until he's discharged? The doctor looked confused. It'll be several months before he's fully independent. Ryan's smile disappeared. Oh, that single word told me everything. The following week, the hospital's patient advocate stopped by. Mr. Carter, there's something you should know. She handed me a visitor log. My family had been requesting information about my finances, not my recovery. They'd asked nurses about insurance policies, business ownership, emergency contacts, even whether I'd left written instructions. None of the staff had answered, but the questions alone spoke volumes. I asked Sarah to visit again. When she arrived, I looked directly at her. Tell me honestly, if something had happened to me last week, would they have inherited everything? She opened my old estate file. Yes. Under your previous will, everything would have been divided equally. I slowly nodded. And now? She smiled softly. Now. Your wishes are very different. I asked her to read them aloud. Every word gave me peace. My construction company would be transferred to the employees who helped build it. The profits would fund scholarships for apprentices entering the skilled trades. My lake cabin would go to my best friend David, the man who had stood beside me for 20 years. My savings would establish a charitable foundation helping accident victims with rehabilitation costs. And my house would become a recovery home for injured veterans after my lifetime. My family would each receive exactly $1, not because I hated them, but because the law required that they couldn't claim they had been forgotten. Sarah closed the folder. You've left them enough to prove they were considered, but not enough to reward greed. I smiled. That's exactly what I wanted. 3 days later, the hospital called my family into a private conference room. Mom rushed in looking terrified. Ryan and Melissa followed. Instead of the doctor, Sarah was waiting. She calmly introduced herself. I've been asked to inform you that Mr. Michael Carter has updated all of his legal documents. Ryan frowned. What does that mean? It means, if Michael had not survived, his estate would have been distributed according to his new wishes. Melissa smiled nervously. So, how is everything divided? Sarah quietly slid a single sheet of paper across the table. As Ryan read it, the color drained from his face. Melissa grabbed the document. Mom stared in disbelief. $1 each, nothing more. The room fell completely silent. Then Ryan exploded. He can't do this! Sarah looked him directly in the eye. He already has. He signed every document while fully competent. They are legally binding. Mom whispered. But we're his family. Sarah answered calmly. Family is defined by more than blood. Those words echoed through the room. None of them had a response. At that exact moment, The doctor entered with a smile. I have some good news. Michael is expected to make a full recovery. Instead of celebrating, my family simply stared at one another, because in a single afternoon, they had lost the fortune they thought was already theirs, and discovered the man they'd already given up on was coming home. The day finally came. After 3 long weeks in the ICU, the doctors cleared me to leave intensive care. I wasn't fully recovered. Walking still hurt. Breathing still hurt. But I was alive. And for the first time, I was ready to face my family. The hospital arranged a private meeting before my discharge. Inside the conference room sat my mother, Ryan, Melissa, my attorney Sarah, and my best friend David. The room was completely silent as I slowly walked in with a cane. My mother immediately burst into tears. "Michael." She rushed toward me. I gently stopped her. "Please, sit down." For the first time in my life, I wanted answers before hugs. Nobody spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. "I heard everything." Ryan looked confused. "What do you mean?" "The pizza. The inheritance. The house. My company. The insurance money." Every face in the room turned pale. I wasn't asleep. I heard every single word. Mom covered her mouth. Melissa immediately started crying. Ryan stared at the floor. Mom whispered, "We didn't mean it." I calmly asked, "Then what exactly did you mean?" No one answered, because there wasn't a good answer. Ryan finally spoke. "We were scared." I nodded. I was scared too. I was the one lying in the ICU. "You were worried about my property." The room became painfully quiet. Sarah quietly placed my new estate documents on the table. "As everyone already knows, these documents are now legally effective." Ryan quickly interrupted. "Michael, you can change them back." I looked directly into his eyes. "Can I?" "Yes." "Why should I?" Again. Silence. Melissa wiped away tears. "I made a terrible mistake. I never realized how selfish I'd become. I thought there would always be another chance to thank you." She started crying harder. "I didn't think I'd lose you." I softly replied, "But you were already planning life without me." Then my mother stood up. She looked older than I had ever seen her. "I failed you. I kept asking for help, without ever asking how much those sacrifices were costing you. I should have protected you, instead of depending on you." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry." For the first time, I saw genuine regret. Not fear of losing money, not disappointment over the inheritance. Real regret. There was a difference, and I could see it. A month later, I returned home. Physical therapy became part of my daily routine. Learning to walk normally again wasn't easy. Some mornings, I wanted to quit. But every afternoon, David showed up. He drove me to appointments, helped around the house, never asked for anything in return. One evening I asked him, "Why are you doing all this?" He laughed. "Because that's what family is supposed to do." Those words stayed with me. Sometimes, the family we choose loves us better than the family we're born into. Over the next few months, something unexpected happened. Ryan got a job. For the first time in years, he kept it. Melissa sold her luxury SUV. She paid off her debts. My mother volunteered at a local rehabilitation center, helping families of accident victims. None of them asked me for money again. Not once. Instead, they slowly started rebuilding trust. 6 months later, I invited everyone to my house, not for an argument, for dinner. The same dining room where they'd once planned my inheritance now held something completely different. Hope. After dessert, I stood up. I have an announcement. Everyone looked at me nervously. I've decided to make one change. Ryan lowered his head. You don't have to. I smiled. I know. But I want to. Sarah handed each of them a folder. Inside wasn't money. It wasn't property. It wasn't ownership papers. It was a family agreement. If they continued proving, through actions, not words, that they had truly changed, they would become trustees of the charitable foundation I'd created, not beneficiaries, caretakers. The foundation would provide financial assistance to trauma survivors, scholarships for construction apprentices, and emergency grants for families facing overwhelming medical bills. I looked around the table. This money should help people, not divide them. My mother cried again. But this time, they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of gratitude. Ryan quietly smiled. I think Dad would have been proud. I nodded. So do I. 1 year later, the foundation had already helped hundreds of families. David became its executive director. Ryan volunteered every weekend. Melissa organized fundraising events. Mom welcomed new patients at the rehabilitation center, telling them, never give up, miracles happen. She knew, because she'd watched one walk out of the ICU. Sometimes people ask me, what was the biggest lesson from your accident? They expect me to talk about survival or business. Instead, I tell them this. The people who deserve your kindness will value it. The people who only value your money will disappear the moment it does. Real love is never measured by inheritance. It's measured by who stays beside your hospital bed, even when there's nothing to gain. Ending. When I was lying in the ICU, my family thought they were preparing for my funeral. Instead, they were witnessing the death of their greed. The hospital didn't just reveal legal papers, it revealed everyone's true character. My accident nearly took my life, but it also gave me something I'd never had before: the courage to stop confusing generosity with obligation. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes that true family is defined by love, loyalty, and actions, not by money or inheritance. And remember, the greatest legacy you can leave behind isn't wealth. It's teaching people the value of compassion before it's too late. The end.